Oh, g'day there guys, it's Munga Thrillionaire here and it's time for the Daily Diary. Your favourite time of day and my favourite time of day. Just on my way to work as per usual. Haven't rewatched last night's diary, haven't uploaded it yet. I'll get to it. But I feel that it might be an interesting one. Just listening to me not seeing my face because it's quite dark. Quite emblematic of the conversation I actually had with Talia and Kim the other day, which is what my main point of the conversation kind of was. I was just listening to the radio and they had a speaker talking about climate change, and they had a caller in express some of his views, and she was just talking about how it's scientifically proven that, you know, that pollution is caused mainly by creating energy, blah blah blah, and that, you know, 99% or an overwhelming majority of scientists believe this is the cause of climate change. And then this other guy rang up and goes, well, he more or less, he didn't express his actual philosophy on it. He just said people should educate themselves and form independent thought, which I thought was a very smart thing to say. Because he's not telling people that they should believe this. He's just saying you should go out and have a look and see what's out there and not just believe the stuff that you're told. So he said you should form some independent thought. And then she came back and brought up politics. Just completely changed the topic of science and brought up politics, which I thought was very childish, really. Because then she's saying, you know, there's an election in 7 weeks, you know, we should do this so the government will change things. So that's a clear indication of who she's talking about, expressing her political view, and the presenters just let her do it, which I think's a bit piss poor. And then they asked her, what as an individual can we do to change things? She didn't give an answer. She hasn't got one, as most people don't when they talk about climate change or how to change it. Because the simple answer, you know, is to stop industry, because that's where a lot of pollution comes from. But that's not going to help. There is a lot of things we could do that people just aren't prepared to do. Our cars don't have to run on petrol. They developed an engine that runs on water, for example. Steam engines have been around for years. They don't have to run on coal. There's other things we can do. Batteries are very good these days. Tesla cars are a perfect example of this. So she's just pushing her political view, because she said, I think it's more of a thing we can do as a community, and then put it back to political, saying, you know, in 7 weeks there's going to be an election. We need to come together and choose the best parliament that's going to fight climate change. And they completely cut off the other bloke, and he went to say, you know, well, that's not, what was the word he used? He more or less said, you know, have independent thought, don't just give in to what people are telling you. And then the presenter was like, nah, she's just said it. She said that the overwhelming majority say that this is actually what's happening. Completely not having independent thought, and just believed what someone else said, which I thought was quite humorous. And they cut him off, and which I thought was very childish, especially the way he cut him off too. Like, just raising his voice kind of like a child would, and then he had to turn his mic off and then cut him off completely. And it was good to hear that some people had messaged into the text line, because I was about to do it. Message in Triple J, I might add, for anyone who's been listening this morning, and say, you know, you've cut this guy off who's probably saying the smartest things compared to this other woman, because he didn't give away where he stood on the matter. He just said that you should have your own educated ideas rather than just believing someone else. And I thought it was quite funny that the presenters especially just gave in to what this other woman said. You know, whatever. I suppose it makes good radio, but it was good to see that the text line come in and said, yeah, that wasn't really cool, cutting off a guy that was being quite articulate was the actual word that was used, and he was. He sounded like an educated man, as did the other woman, however, educated by the public, not by science. Anyway, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit. I know climate change is real because I've seen it. The ice caps in Canada are melting. I wouldn't say that the planet is heating up, because we're also, especially on this side of the world, we're getting the extreme cold and extreme weather. So I'd just say it's climate change. The planet is moving as anything would. So I don't think it's anything to be super worried about. However, we don't have to keep polluting our Earth. We can stop that. Anyway, peace, love and a stepper. It's a good show, and I've got, yeah.